So today is the next installment on the progress with the airplane, the 182's annual. The FAA certified engineer who comes to do the work and sign it off, because the plane is on the NREG, the American registration, because there's no European supplementary type certificate for the Peterson 182 with the canards on it. So it's got to be signed off by an American authorized inspector and authorizer of airplanes. And he has come down today, all the way, 3 hours away he's come, and I've had to drop everything and cancel my plans for the day, because he's one of those guys that very, very hard to get his time, and when you do get it, you just have to drop everything, which is what I'm doing. Very excited to just be moving a step closer to getting this annual complete. So far, no major nightmares. A slight oil leak that we perhaps could have chosen to leave, but just decided actually it was probably better to get it fixed. No other squawks so far. There may yet be some. We haven't done engine compressions yet, that kind of stuff. Can't do that until the valve stem seals have been replaced. So today I'm in school. I'm in aircraft mechanic school, learning about my plane, learning about the processes, learning about annuals, learning about the regulations, and just taking myself a step closer to having the tiniest chance of being able to solve any maintenance issues that might arise while I am touring with my family. Because you know, you don't want to be one of those helpless people that, like, the car equivalent is, oh no, I've got a puncture, I don't know how to change a tyre. Like, I'm not one of those. With a car, I can solve most problems that are solvable by the side of the road. But in a plane, it happened to me once or twice already. It was quite embarrassing. Oh no, my plane won't work. And I had to call an engineer out, and they came out, and it was something tiny and really simple that they fixed in minutes. I want to be marginally less useless than I currently am with aircraft maintenance. That was Anne-Marie, and I just said something on the phone that reminded me that it is one of those days. When your plane is in annual, you're effectively in the waiting room. Are you going to get out of jail free? Or is it going to be a horrific nightmare that costs thousands of pounds and leaves your plane on the ground for months? So far, I haven't had any good luck with that. I feel like I'm due a little bit of good luck on that front after last summer's fiasco with the cylinders and missing 3 months of summer flying because of that. Just coming to the airfield feels exciting again. You know when it's like you haven't flown for a while? I haven't flown since I did that camping weekend with my friend Nick, where we went to Enstone and Sleep and Pembury. It was good fun. That's the last time I flew. It was February and we're now in May. And I hate that feeling when you don't feel like a pilot anymore. We're going to get to spend the day with the plane today, moving it back towards being airworthy again, which is really exciting. It's not that you lose the love. I've never lost the love of flying. It's that sometimes the commitment required to keep it going is too much when added up with all of the other commitments you've got in your life, like work, parenting, making a living, taking care of family situations, all the other stuff that as you get older just seems to get more and more and more and more, right? You're just like, have I got any energy left in my tanks to keep up with aviation? Because it does require real energy, mental energy and commitment and time and focus and money. Fucking hell. Sitting here thinking about how to put into words what flying has come to mean to me is an almost overwhelming job. I had no idea when I first started getting my lessons how to fly small planes. Just not even seriously contemplating getting my private pilot's license, just having flying lessons for fun. I had no concept of how deeply it would affect me as a person, affect my life, and ultimately affect my family and so many other things, even my businesses.
Leaking these O-rings here.
Right, okay.
So that's what I've...
Just on this side?
Yeah, it was just these that was leaking. The other side, the side which I replaced the cylinders are good. No leaks at all.
Yeah.
But this side, especially this one here, was pissing out.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right, that's good catch then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a pain in the ass job because you got to take all the exhaust off, and
yeah,
the inlet manifold's got to come off, and it's just a lot of bits.
So they're actually just not. It's a cheap part, isn't it?
Yeah, we had the bar kit.
Yeah. Let's just go put it back together now.
Yeah.
I say just.
Yeah.
I seriously think that anyone who has the means and the opportunity to go and try flying should do it. Everybody. If you've got the means, you should try it. Just go to your nearest airfield flying school and ask for a discovery flight. There's no big deal, no big commitment. You can just turn up and have a lesson, or ring up and book a lesson. Just do it. You'll never regret it. For some of you, it'll change your life, and for others of you it won't, but it'll be an experience that you never forget. And if you like the first one, go back and do it again. If you like it enough, then set your sights on the first milestone, which you can do after just as little as 10 hours of instruction, which is your first ever solo. I will never forget that moment as long as I live. I had friends on the ground watching me at the airfield, at Enston Airfield, where I did my first solo, when I wasn't expected to do it. As I took off in the plane, I gave a yee-haw so loud that they heard it from the ground. They told me afterwards. I'm only talking about general aviation here, private flying. Even that has become, for me, a whole way of life. It's become part of a dream I have for my family. It's become something that I think about every single day, even if I haven't flown for weeks or even a month or two sometimes. For the first few years of learning to fly, I didn't get it, and I wasn't taking it seriously enough, and I probably would never have got my pilot's license if it wasn't for a really old friend of mine who I met at a party, chatting away, and he was asking me how my flying was coming on. And I told him, and he just said to me, "You're never going to do it." It caught me off guard, and I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You don't get it. This is not something you can dip in and out of. If you don't commit to it, you'll never get your license and you'll never get into flying." That comment made me immediately go and book 2 weeks off work, which turned into 3 weeks. And I went and checked into a bed and breakfast on a farm near Enston Airfield. And I said to myself, I'm not leaving here until I've got my PPL. And it took 3 weeks. On top of the training I'd already done. And 3 weeks later, I had my pilot's license. But in the approaching 700 hours that I've got now under my belt, put it this way, actual near-death experiences, probably 2 or 3. But squeaky bum pucker moments, probably 8 or 10. And in fact, my maiden flight as the holder of a PPL was a massive lesson. And I underestimated the headwind and nearly ran out of fuel on my first cross country as a PPL. The surprise to me, there's a big surprise to me out of aviation, which is I've never experienced anything that's made me grow as a person like flying does. Before I started learning to fly, I thought I was quite a good decision maker. But then flying solo and planning flights on my own made me realize that my decision making skills were basic at best. So I'm going to see if I can borrow some anti-corrosion spray and replace it with the stuff that I've bought. Almost every flight teaches you a new lesson. Almost every flight gives you an experience you haven't had before. Something maybe just small, but still something new and unexpected that you have to deal with. It's just so good for you to put yourself in that situation where once you've taken off in a plane, you've got to get everything right or you'll probably die.
And you're constantly dealing with challenges and changes and things the unexpected things that happen along the way. And dealing with those every time is thrilling. It gets your adrenaline going. But it really develops you as a person. And you realize that when you meet and talk to other pilots as well. The adrenaline build-up before every flight, the excitement of every flight, and that sense of achievement and accomplishment after every flight when you land safely in one piece and you can use the airplane again. Yay! I didn't die.
When I started working on this annual myself for the first time, an owner-assisted annual on my Cessna 182, I knew literally zero about the process, and I'm learning a lot, although I'm also aware that what I'm learning is just scratching the surface. But it's amazing. Learning anything before you knew nothing is a big step. It's going from 0 to 1 in terms of actual knowledge. Just being around as a lifelong, career-long avionics engineer, and watching him work and asking questions and trying not to be a pain in his ass, is a fantastic experience. And I'm also excited because we're getting closer to the plane, being ready to get back in the air again. Time for a break for lunch now. We've got the whole rest of the afternoon. Not sure how far we're going to be by the end of today. There's still a lot of work to do. I think the biggest amount of work is going to be actually putting everything back together, getting it ready to be tested, to be flown again. But God, I'm really getting to know the ins and outs and the bits and the bobs of the plane, and how it all works. And actually, the more I find out about it, the more incredible I realise these machines are. These flying machines, these personal flying machines. Just incredible.
The joy of taking up friends and family and getting to see people in places you wouldn't otherwise go. Over time, gradually, on those days when it punches you in the face, sometimes it's a gentle slap, sometimes it's a full-on square punch on the nose for your ego and your confidence. It's taught me humility, not straight away, but over time, you go through a period when your confidence is rising and you look back and realize that your confidence levels are actually unjustifiably high and you just got lucky. And then you start to get the lessons and the slaps in the face and the pokes in the eye, metaphorically. And that can really knock your confidence, and your confidence plummets to rock bottom. You think, oh God, I'm not a good pilot. And my worst day, that was that famous day in Norway with Archie when I should not have taken off. I shouldn't have taken off. That was easily the worst flight of my life. But that was the day that I learnt. From a fellow pilot actually who contacted me after seeing the video. Really, really nice guy from America contacted me. He was a commercial pilot and a GA instructor. And he gave me half an hour of his time and he just said, go slow or no go. And it's a great mantra that I've used ever since.
All this has got to go back in and on to the plane. So far, no big nasty surprises. We've got a leaking brake caliper on the other side that's got to be repaired. But the valve seals have been done and the engine's back together and the oil has been drained and the new filter's been put on. And the prop spin has been checked and the prop hub's been lubed. And all the checks on the wings have been done. My faithful machine will be back in the air soon if the final day goes well. I know that's a big if, but all that's left is, so the plugs have gone away to be cleaned, plugs are going to go back in, do a run up, check the compressions, got to get the interior all back in, get the fairings back on the leg struts down there, and put it all back together. So one of the things that's got left to be done is the nose wheel bearing. So we're going to lift the front up, take the wheel off, to grease the bearings, and then also the oleo is a bit low, so that needs to be pumped up. But the oleo valve for pumping it up is located on the very top. I don't know if you can just see that little yellow valve. That is where you have to connect the compressor up to fill it up with nitrogen. And that is completely inaccessible because of this bar. So this bar is what the canards are connected to. So this whole canard assembly has got to come off so we can regas the front oleo strut because of that little yellow thing. See it down there, bottom left? Yeah.
Few things make me feel alive like flying does. To be able to just have that freedom of being in the air in a personal flying machine and go where you want to go and see what you can see in the views and the countryside and the water and the landscape and the mountains. It's just an extraordinary thing to be able to do. And it's hard and it requires real commitment. I really hope I get to pass my love of flying on to my kids. I really think it will enrich their lives as people, not just as pilots. The kids, even though they're still only 7 and 6, and not even 1 in Daphne's case, they love watching the old flying videos, and they show friends and they show new people when they meet them. They just love, not even the flying ones, just some of the other ones, the holiday ones, when we're just doing stuff together. Let's hope I can get this annual finished and get this baby back up in the sky, because I can't wait.
That was day 3, and the only major squawk we found, which was the oil leak, has been fixed, which is amazing news. Fixed, back together. So now it's just a question of 2 outstanding tasks, which is the nose wheel, bearings, and one of the brake calipers, which is leaking and needs to be fixed, which are down for the final day of work. And between now and then, I've got to put all the seats back in. Yeah, anyway, so far, I mean, we're not out of the woods yet. We've got to get the engine back together, get it running, get the whole plane back together, get it signed off. I've had such a bizarre feeling today. It feels like that plane is on the ground more than it's in the air, but that's not actually true. It's just that when it is airworthy and I can go flying, it's almost surreal and too good to be true. And this situation, which is that I don't have a working airplane, feels much more real. But having just read that book, Ferry Pilot, by Kerry Macaulay, I think his name is. If you're a pilot, you'll know what I mean. The state of mind when you are flying, when you're up there, perhaps dealing with a few challenges along the way in your flight, maybe a weather challenge, maybe a navigation challenge, and you've got the nerves and the adrenaline flowing and the excitement and the thrill of flying. And when you're on the ground in the hangar and the plane's in pieces all over the floor and the seats are out, that airborne state seems so far away. And last year, 2022, was such a rubbish year for flying for me personally, because I personally wasn't just feeling in a great. The number of flights I had to cancel because I wasn't feeling fit to fly was very frustrating. I'm experiencing strange and deep emotions about my plane and about flying it again and about getting it back up in the air. It's almost like having what is a very minimal level of involvement in the mechanics of the annual this time round is making my bond with the plane deeper than it already was. Really feels like a character in my life and like a piece of machinery that I entrust my life and the lives of my family and any other passengers I take to. I really, really deeply dislike the phrase life affirming, but I'm going to use it anyway. I honestly think flying is the most life affirming thing that I've ever done. It's like flying is living. I'm getting all deep and sentimental now, but it does feel that way. And if I can get the plane through its annual in the next couple of weeks, next 3 weeks maybe, and get it up and flying again, I'm really going to fly it as much as I can, as much avgas as I can afford, and really make the most of it. You find me at a particularly introspective and thoughtful moment after the second day of my working on the plane, although I have to say I did almost nothing. I screwed some panels back on, really, that was about it. But I did learn a lot, and next step, I want to get up there before he comes back to complete the annual inspection, and I want to give it a really thorough clean under the floorboards, in all the, where those inspection panels are, and just really, really give the airframe some love. Do you know what I mean? So a bit of a deep clean, a deep and thorough clean, because I think you get to know a plane when you do that. You get to know any machine when you do that. I better go. I've got someone I need to call for some help because I'm so rubbish at it on my own. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one. Bye bye.